So then let's talk specifically about the cheeses because you are using traditional fermentation methods and things like that. And that's really where you get the yumminess. Now, I will let you know, I have tried quite a few artisanal cheeses, like plant-based cheeses, and I'm always and also we have a lot of vegan restaurants around Los Angeles that make their own cheeses. And when I have that experience in person, I'm always like, this is delicious. But then when I go to the store and try to buy something prepackaged that is a plant-based cheese, I am always disappointed. So, tell me what makes your cheese so freaking delicious and how we can help these big brands do better.
Yeah, I think so first and foremost, there are no preservatives or anything in my cheese. So I actually sell all of my cheeses frozen. That was a decision that I made talking to my process authority. It's something in the state that kind of tells you how things have to go, process wise, when you're dealing with any kind of fermented product. Just they said that, hey, your shelf life is only 2 weeks. It's really not, but I gotta go what the process authority says. So I decided to sell my cheese frozen. So there are no preservatives in there, first and foremost, which I think is a huge juxtaposition to what you find at the grocery store. A lot of the prepackaged cheeses you see at the grocery store are basically oil that's thickened with agar or tapioca starch with some kind of flavoring sprinkled in there. That is not what I do at all. My cheese is based first and foremost on whole foods. So all of my cheeses being nut based, I make my own nut butter or not nut butter, not nut butters. I make my own cashew or almond milk depending on the cheese, and then I culture it using the same cultures that dairy cheese makers use and the giant vats at their production facilities, and I age everything. I have a pH meter, I pH check everything. So the culturing process itself, I think, is what makes it unique, but then also the dedication to the whole foods. And also, I make my cheeses flavor first. So I do use coconut oil, which I have some oil-free customers. I have a few oil-free cheeses, but I do use coconut oil because it's a saturated fat. Dairy cheese has saturated fat. It hits your tongue different, it melts differently, and it's really important to replicate that mouthfeel that everybody loves so much. But I think it's really just the fermentation that kind of brings everything together.
It's true, it's that mouthfeel that gets people, and I think that's what they get hung up on. It's like they want that exact experience, so we have to figure out ways to replicate that in order to get them to really open their mind to it. So when you started then so you were doing your cooking classes and then you decide, "I'm gonna launch my own cheese line." What was the next step in that? Obviously, you were probably home experimenting, but then getting more into a production line where you can actually sell it publicly, that's different because you do have to have an industrial kitchen. So what was that next step like for you? Because you started your cooking classes like 2018, right?
Mhm.
But then like 2023, you had a big change in your business.
Yeah.
So, take us through what was going on then and how you were able to make those leaps from, home kitchen to actually servicing a community.
Yeah. So when I first started making cheese, I was very lucky, and I'm so grateful that I was actually working for a vegan ice cream producer at the time. And in New York State, you're allowed to share commercial agricultural kitchens. So
Mhm.
I was able to share that kitchen with them while I was there. And that's how I started making my cheeses 7 pieces at a time, which was really funny. It took me crazy long time. I was in like a little 64-ounce Vitamix, doing my 7 cheeses at a time. And I think 60 pieces when I first started selling them would probably last me about 2 months. Like I was selling half pieces and just trying to get the word out and everything. In 2023, I was kind of forced to make a huge transition. Unfortunately, the building that I was producing in had been sold, and I won't get into the details because I don't want to get into any trouble. But basically, I lost my production space. I was basically evicted out of my first production space with 2 weeks notice. I had no lease, no product. It was really scary. But because I had spent time developing that community based in that ice cream production facility prior to that, I was able to reach out to my community of small business owners and my customers, and I had a GoFundMe, and like everyone was just so willing to help me and so ready to help with that transition. And My new production space was only a hop, skip, and a jump away from my last one, but it was a way bigger. It's my space. I got to put my mark on. I have this beautiful area where I can have people come in for classes or for dinners, special events, things like that. I host classes in my production space now. And overall, it's just been a really positive experience. So, what started as 7 pieces at a time, I now make about 180 pieces a day when I'm producing, which, if you're thinking about like, it's still pretty small compared to my competitors, but the area that I serve continues to grow and the interest continues to grow as well.
Yes.